Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is James, and I'm doing a challenge where I am coding a SaaS product only using AI, and I'm not stopping until I reach 10K. There are only a few rules to this. Number one is I have to use AI coding tools only to make this SaaS product. Number two, everything has to be recorded here on this channel. I'm not allowed to do anything outside of what gets recorded. And number three is that I cannot stop until I reach 10K in revenue, and I'm gonna record absolutely everything. So from the coding to the marketing as well. So if you wanna follow along, subscribe to the channel, make sure that you hit the bell notifications to get all the notifications for when I upload. I will upload a video every week on my progress. So let's get into the video. So I've decided to use the VO version because I think this dashboard is really clean. It looks really professional, more professional than the other ones, and it's just a better look. I like this design much more than the other designs. So I'm going to use this one over Replit and Bolt and Cursor. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just download the code. I'm going to download it as a zip. So we're going to let that download. I'm going to open Cursor so long. So I downloaded it from VO, I unzipped the file, and now I've just placed that somewhere I know, and I've put that inside of Cursor. So now inside of Cursor, we're just going to open a terminal window here. You just open one of these, that's good. And we're going to run, just going to install all the dependencies that are needed. We have an error here. I'm not sure why off the bat we would have an error, but let's see if this works now. All right, Cursor is actually still running. So let's let Cursor finish what it's doing. It's actually running the terminal commands for me. So we can see it ran npm install and it found some other errors here. So let's just let it update and try again. It looks like Cursor is going to be able to get through this now. What's nice about this is it's going to run because it's going to run the commands for you. You can actually go and test each time and see if there's another issue and then solve that issue as well. So what we can see is that everything has installed properly, and it's saying that we can now run npm run dev. Okay, so we're going to run that in the terminal as well. And this is going to create a development server for us. So we can actually go and view the project. And what we should see now is exactly the same as what we see in VO. So let's open up this localhost server here. It's localhost URL. And there we go. Okay, I can see it has given us an error here. All right, that's okay. So what we can see is this is what we got inside of VO. This is the dashboard, and inside our localhost now is exactly the same. So everything is exactly the same. And now we can start working from here and adding and removing whatever we don't need and whatever we do need. So we've got lots of pages now. Obviously, now none of these pages have any functionality in them. So they're just, this button doesn't actually do anything. This button doesn't actually do anything. If we wanted to do something, we need to add in the code for it to do that. So before we do any of that, we don't want to confuse Cursor, because if it sees something inside your code, it might try and figure out, okay, you might be meaning like the AI review section. So let me take that AI review section and connect it somewhere else. But we never actually meant to have that AI review section. So what we're going to do is, before we actually get to any functionality, we need to just clean this up to make sure that it only has the things that we really want inside of it. So how I want this to work is that I would like to add a vendor Okay, so what we need, let's go back to our, let's get rid of this tab here. Let's come back to here. All right, so let's make a new heading here. Let's map out the user journey. All right, so what I envisioned from here is that we should be able to create a vendor and then upload specific documents just for that vendor. Then we should be able to have a global assessments form and a local assessments form. Global assessments and local assessments, and global documents and local documents. We don't need an AI review because we should be able to do that within the assessments. And we'll leave the analytics for now because we can come back to that at a later stage. But for now, let's ask Cursor to remove the AI review page. So we'll just open Cursor again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do this from a new window. We don't need any context to. Actually, for now, we're going to keep this AI review page. And there's a reason why. I'm keeping it because these run analysis buttons and so on, I might want to add that into our vendor view when we have built out our vendor view, and it would be nice to have something to refer to. So I can go refer to the AI document review page. There's a run analysis button, add that to something else. So we're going to keep this for now. When we start actually building the functionality, we're going to have to remove this page because I don't want the cursor to get confused with this page and what else it should be doing. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to ask Cursor to allow us to click on a vendor. Let's open up Cursor and let's do this. All right. So basically what we're doing now is we're just adding an additional page for each vendor. So when we click on the vendor, we can open it up and we can see the details of that vendor. Okay, we can see that it is done. So let's have a look at the app. Let's see what it's actually done here. Let's go into the vendors. Okay. Yeah, we can actually click on the vendor now. All right, so we lose a bit of functionality. We lose the sidebar in that view, but that is okay. What we can see is we can see overview, documents, assessments, contact information. Fantastic. We can see last assessment, there's 3 assessments, 4 documents, and so on like that. Okay, great. We won't, oh, we can actually. So it's added something for us to actually, like a little dialog box that opens to allow us to add the documents. Now, obviously it's not going to add anything, but we can see here. This is for the create an assessment. Sorry, the documents, we can add a document. That's great. We can't obviously click on anything there. Oh, So we can click on this. It will open up to upload something. We can add additional notes. We can add a document name. Okay. Fantastic. Now, what we want to do, go back to assessments, is we want to change assessment management. Let's change the name of this page here. Just come back into cursor. Let's exit out of this. Global assessments. All right. So in the menu, the global assessments are going to be assessments we can add in to the platform to be available over all of our vendors. And then inside the vendor itself is assessments that we would add in that would be specific to that vendor. So that gives us the ease to not have to go and recreate assessments all the time. If we're using, there's one assessment that gets used over like all vendors, then we can easily just import that assessment from our global vendor list. And then the local assessments will get managed inside the vendor. So if there's a vendor specific assessment, that's where it comes from. So let's open up this quickly. Global assessments, fantastic. And then we're going to do the same with the documents. So we're going to have global documents, which is basically going to be documents that we might want to access over all your vendors, and then you'll have local documents, which will be vendor specific documents. The global documents are probably going to be more aligned to your business, what you're doing, and the inside the vendor, the documents there will be more about the vendor documents. But obviously, this gives freedom to use that how you would like. So we're going to just change this to global documents as well. Okay. It's important that we change these names here because now we need to tell Cursor to make the global assessments and global documents available inside the local asset, inside the local vendor, so that we can import those. So what we're going to do is we're going to say okay. So basically, I've just told Cursor exactly what I explained. So we're going to let Cursor run. Okay. All right, let's accept this. Let's go and have a look at what it's actually done. All right, we'll go into vendors. We will click on a vendor to open it up. We will come through to documents. We can import. All right, so now we can select and import. It's not actually doing anything. That's perfect. Assessments, import global assessments. We can select and import. Fantastic. All right, the only other thing that I would like is I would like this menu sidebar to be available when I click into a vendor. So let's do that quickly as well. I hope it understands that. Okay, let's have a look and check to see if it's done that correctly. So we come to overview. Let's reload this. Let's reload the page here. Okay, there we go. All right, so now I can navigate properly through. Let's go into the vendor. Let's actually click into a vendor. Perfect. We've still got the sidebar over here. Can we, you see, once we're in here, we can't actually navigate away, which is a problem. We will fix this in a second. So this is day 2. This is week 2, day 2. And today, what we're going to fix is in the vendor view, when we actually go inside of a vendor, when it decides to load, we can see that once we're in the vendor, the menu on the left-hand side no longer works. So let's go fix that quickly. Open cursor. And we're just going to prompt cursor. I'm going to use it from the same chat because it already had the context from us actually putting it in there. All right, let's see if we can fix that quickly. While that's working, I'm actually going to come in here. I'm going to see what this form builder. Oh, I see. Now I have to actually go back. So let's just go back to the home page, and then we can go back to form builder here. Okay, so the form builder is actually giving us the ability to create a form. Now this should be creating an assessment. The form builder should be the assessment builder. So I am actually thinking about this as we go. What we would need to do is build a form, but the form only needs to ask the questions because the AI is going to answer it. So let's see what it currently does. Okay, we have an issue. Obviously, it is building out the content. It is actually writing the code right now, so it might come across some issues. Let's see if it's actually done anything. All right, I think what's happened is, okay, so it's building out. I'm gonna stop clicking around there and just let it finish doing what it's doing so that I can come back there. Okay, it says that it's fixed everything. We can see that everything's reloaded. It should be fine. So let's just go click through some things. Okay, so this is all still working. Let's go into a vendor. And then, yeah, okay, fantastic. So that is working just as expected. So I can come here, I can come back to dashboard there, or just... Okay. So our dashboard is a little bit incorrect here, because what we need to essentially do here is when we're creating an assessment, what we're actually doing is building a form, but we don't need all these things. We just need the title of each section, because that is going to be basically the question that's going to be sent to the AI, and the AI is going to review the documentation to answer that question. So what we need to do is make sure that our user interface here represents that. So we don't need this form builder section. What we need to do is instruct cursor to, when creating an assessment, so let's pull up cursor again. Okay, so I've actually just sort of had a little bit of a brainwave while thinking about this, in that I don't actually need to keep it to just the AI responses for this. What we can do is just build them out as normal forms and then have the respond with AI button at the top, which will analyze the text. But there's no reason that we can't also have it as a normal form that someone can actually just respond to. Another thing which I have sort of missed out in this is that we only have a vendors and we don't have an assets section as well. Now, the vendor, it should provide an asset. So what we can do is just create like an assets page, which is pretty much exactly the same as the vendor page. And then we can just tie the asset and the vendor together so that we can have vendor forms and asset forms separately. So for example, of that is if someone is reviewing AWS, then they might only use one service within AWS. So the asset that they're bringing on, they'll only assess that one service within that asset, and then they could bring on multiple. So basically the vendor is like the company and the asset is like the service that they are providing, like the technology that they are providing basically. So I'll have to think of a clever way to sort of tie the vendor and the asset together there. But we can still have global assessments, we can still have global documents, and so on. But let's let this finish first, see how it's produced these forms that we're going to be sending. And then once we have that, then we can start working on the vendor side and the vendor and the asset being tied together. Okay, so it seems to have understood what I wanted, but let's just have a look. Okay, so it's removed the assessments, the forms tab over here. So let's go into the global assessments. Okay, not so sure about what it's done here, but that's okay. Okay, obviously none of these things actually work, so that's a bit of a... So that's another issue, but that's okay. That's okay. Let's go into an actual vendor. And assessments. Okay, I don't know if it's fully understood what we wanted there. Let's go review. Okay, yeah, no, it hasn't exactly understood what we need to do here. Okay, so it's actually said here that we can add a custom form. Let's make this slightly smaller here. And let's go to create form. You see custom form. All right, let's just put something in here and see if it does anything. Okay, so it's not actually doing anything. That's okay. Okay, but we've got everything there. Okay, so this AI review, let's remove everything to do with the AI review. I don't want it to get confused with that AI review page at all. Okay, so we can see it's removing it from the sidebar. There we go, it's done. And I'm hoping it's going to remove the actual page. Okay, so it's removing the import. Okay, that's fine. Just let this finish. Okay, so you removed the AI review. That's perfect. So what we need to do is add a asset page now. So what I'm going to do is cool. That's completely finished. I'm going to open a new tab. We don't need that context there. And I'm going to ask it to create an asset for the vendor. Okay, so I wanted to add assets, but I want to make sure that it's the flow, like how the user is actually going to use this, is sort of intuitive. So I've asked it to just come up with something, and we can if we don't like what we've seen, we can just go back and do something else. But I really want to, before we add any actual functionality to this, before we can actually like create a form and save things and do stuff like that, I really want to make sure that we only have the things that we need inside the UI, because as soon as we start adding more actual functionality to this, like actual code that actually does things, then if the AI is understood that it needs to link like these things, because the UI is telling it that it has all these components and all these things that it needs to link, it might try to do it in a more complex way. And then when we're trying to fix that, it's going to be way more complicated than if right now we just say, oh, don't remove this, don't use that, don't use that, don't use the other thing. It's going to be way more complicated for us. So right now, I just need to make sure that we spend a lot of time and actually go through all of these pages and just make sure that we have the things that we want and it's laid out the way that we want it, because then we can go and just say, because then we can just go and say to tell the AI how we want the functionality of these things to work. So in this design phase, we'll be a little bit more like let the AI decide exactly how it's going to lay this out and do things and so on like that. We can just let it go wild in this stage because it's not actually doing any functionality here. And then once we've got that, then we can go and make sure that it's completely clean and that we understand how it's going to be linked, and we can just tell the AI exactly how to do that and what it should be doing and how those components need to be interacting with on the UI and with the database and with the AI, obviously, that we're going to be integrating. So we're just letting it complete here. It's creating the page for the asset. Also allowing us to obviously go into the assets like the vendors, which is what we want. Okay, so what we should see is the asset page come up now. It's just being added to the dashboard, and we'll see, here we go. It'll be added to the menu now. There we go. So we've got an assets tab. So we've got an overview, vendor assets, global assessments, global documents, and then the analytics and settings. We won't worry too much about the analytics and the settings right now. The overview we're not worrying about. It's just those 4 tabs that we need to really dive into. Okay, so it's also making sure that we can relate the vendors and the assets, which is perfect, which is exactly what we want. Okay, it has actually completed. And okay, so we've started oh no, okay, that's fine. So it's actually started another development server for us, so we can see it's on this one, but it should be reflecting here perfectly fine. All right, let's not worry about that. Let's close this one here. Let's just reload all of this. Okay, so now we've got vendors and we've got assets. Cool. And we can click on AWS. Cool. All right, we can still move. That's fantastic. All right, linked vendors. All right, this is perfect. So now we go into the vendors. If we click on a vendor, all right, we have an issue here. It's great. All right. So what we're going to do is just copy this and we're going to, in the same chat, we're just going to let cursor know. Okay, it has actually stopped. Yeah, it stopped. That's fine. Let's let it finish running. Okay, and it's started a new development server for us on localhost, so we can just go to that and we should see everything working all right now. Let's just see what it's did. All right, so let's go into the vendor. Let's hope this works. There we go. Documents. Okay, so we've got the same things. The only thing that we might want to clean up here is the related asset is all the way at the end for the vendor, and for the asset it's over here, which is not terrible, but something we might want to just consider cleaning up. These also, I'm not so sure about this. Or this operational cost, that doesn't actually make sense. But we can fix that. We can fix that later. All right, what I want to fix now is this. Okay, global assessments. We can't actually create anything. It doesn't have any view to create anything. When we add a vendor, also it doesn't do anything. That's fine. We will need to create something for that. Assessments, but we can, it does give us a form to update the assessment. So what we're going to do is open a new tab. Okay, so basically just asking it to make sure that when we're creating a form, it's actually building a form. Like the assessment is a form that we need to send. The assessment is a form that we need to send. So here we're just saying, make sure that it's a form that can actually be completed as a form. So we've got questions and answers. Okay, so just from looking at this, I can see that there might be a few things that we might not need to use. Okay, I'm going to come back to this. Okay, so basically after a lot of messing around on this day and 45 minutes of work on this, I was just getting an error and I couldn't solve that error. So you'll see all my trying to fix the error running through here now. And what I decided is to rather just move back to a previous checkpoint now, and then once I'm back at that checkpoint, we will continue on with some development of additional features. Now, I know this week hasn't been that great. We haven't actually tackled much, but next week, what we'll do is we'll actually get this up and running on Firebase, and we'll start actually implementing some of the functionality. I'll finish up all this work on the look of it and all the components, and we'll probably do that tomorrow all in one session, but that'll only be in next week's video. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.